Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Tyler from the Keep Pounding Podcast. Hope you guys are having a good day. Today, we're going to be going over and talking about fixing the pass rush. The Panthers, this has got to be a top priority. We're obviously improving the pass rush is the biggest, in my opinion, offseason priority. And then, what are some realistic possible free agent edge targets for that the Panthers can look at? This list we'll kind of go. This list is mainly free for free agents. We'll go over a few players that we could possibly trade for, but mainly tonight, we're going to be talking about free agents. How the salary cap affects who the Panthers can sign. Obviously, over the cap has us at $14 million right now. That obviously can change. The free agent, the NFL free agency begins next month, so a lot can change from now to then. It will be interesting to see what happens. There might be some cap casualties. We talked about that a couple weeks ago, but the salary cap does affect who the Panthers can sign and trade for. Scheme fits for Evero's defense. What are some high-end options versus affordable depth signings? So this isn't each person we talk about isn't going to be the number one, top guy. Who are some guys, if we're not able to get the top guys, that possibly could be a depth or just, a guy? So, and how a new edge rusher changes the defense. What will this defense look like if we can get an edge rusher, and not just edge rusher? And we'll talk about all the different positions that we need to be able to focus on, particularly on the defense. But better pass rush changes everything. Coverage improves. We were pretty good in coverage last year. Turnovers increase and games get easier on the offense. So we're going to get all into that, but it's been a minute since I've talked to you guys. We're going to go over some NFL topics first before we get into the Panthers stuff. Okay. So since I last talked to you, you had Raheem Morris, the former Atlanta head coach, that is the new 49ers defensive coordinator. Robert Saleh, who was the defensive coordinator last year for the Niners, got the Titans head coaching job. But going from Saleh to Raheem Morris is about as good as it can get as far as getting a great defensive mind. They do have different schemes. I believe Saleh was more of a 4-3 wide 9 system. It was really focusing on penetrating the front four as far as getting pressure. Morris particularly is more recent years. He does have a history with the 4-3 with the Tampa Tua style defense, but he's typically been running 3-4 the last several years. And then the style has been a little different. Morris shows more of an aggression on the defensive calls compared to Saleh. So it'll be interesting to see if they switch to the 3-4, stay with the 4-3. In my opinion, I think they will stick with the 4-3. It's Shanahan's team, and Shanahan's been with the 4-3 for a while, so I would expect that to not change. So Raheem Morris is the defensive coordinator. I know some Panther fans are hoping that Evero will get the Raiders job, and we would get Raheem Morris, but he is the Niners' new defensive coordinator. Okay, so I just want to make sure we're all good before I continue. All right, so there has been some reports that I've saw on Twitter, particularly Tony Pauline. So there's been several league sources throughout the league that expect Evans to move on from the Bucs this offseason. Mike Evans hasn't had any discussions with the Bucs yet, so this is all hearsay. It's just the word around the league. They expect him to move on. It would be great as a Panther fan not to really have to deal with Mike Evans twice a year, but that there's rumors circulating that he could move elsewhere outside of Tampa. His agent did decline earlier this week on Twitter that any retirement rumors at all, that he expects him to continue to play. Just unsure if it's going to be with Tampa. So again, if Mike Evans doesn't play for the Bucs, that it makes sense. You have Chris Godwin there, and then you have Emeka Egbuka there. It's a little crowded. Maybe he wants to go to contender. The NFC South, even though it's very weak, it's are the Bucs really a contender? And I think they're having a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of moves that have yet to be made to figure out which direction the Bucs are to go in. So I think they're going to start to getting to close to rebuilding mode. A lot of veterans on that team. So I think he's going to want to go to a contender. His he's got a couple years left, I think, in the tank. So this will be interesting to keep a watch on this offseason to see if he does move elsewhere. So I was pretty pleased to hear this. I was pretty pleased to hear that. Okay, so other unfortunate news. You have James Pierce Jr. I don't know if you guys heard the reports. I'm sure you guys have, but reportedly, Rickea Jackson, who is a WNBA player for the Sparks in LA, she was dating James Pierce for about 3 years. She was ending things, and I guess he couldn't accept that. Kept trying to contact her. She blocked his phone, and then he was stalking her allegedly. And so she wanted to go to the police to file a report. And that's when Pierce allegedly intentionally crashed his SUV into her vehicle multiple times. This happened in Florida, and Florida, they don't play. He has 5 charges against him right now, 2 counts of aggravated battery with a deadly weapon, second-degree felony. I don't know if it was on his person when this happened or if it was in the car. If it was on his person, that's not good. That's not good, bro. It's 1 count carries up to 15 years, and he got 2 counts of that. 1 count of aggravated stalking, up to 5 years. 1 count of eluding police, and up to 5 years, and 1 count of aggravated battery of a law enforcement officer, and that's up to 30. And that was on tape. Like that was what was circulating on Twitter. His ex-girlfriend, Rickea, I think that's saying her name right, Rickea Jackson, she did say that she's willing to testify in court if this case goes to trial. Pierce is claiming he's innocent, so it looks like it will be going to trial. But bro, like, again, they have video of you resisting officers. It took about 6 different officers. I don't know if you guys watched the video. It took like 6 different officers to arrest this guy. That alone does not look good on you, bro. It doesn't. So, and he has a history of character issues. I don't know specifically what they are, but I know during the draft process last NFL draft, he was one of my favorite, if not my favorite, edge rushers coming out of, I believe he came out of Tennessee. Really good pass rushing skills, and he had 10.5 sacks this year with the Falcons. And I feel like the Falcons came away when they came away with Jalen Walker and then James Pierce Jr., 2 of the best edge rushers in a deep edge rushing class, came away with a really good core of edge rushers. And now this dude is, I mean, who knows what's going to happen with all this, but it does not look good for him going back, specifically this year. I mean, I'm not saying his career is over, but it does not look good, bro. That does not look good. So he's going to be out for a while. So hopefully this guy can learn from his mistakes. His not mistake, his actions. Just stupid decision. That's a stupid decision, dude. So hopefully he learns from it, gets better from it. But hopefully his Rickea Jackson is doing okay, but just a unfortunate situation. So let's talk about, we had the Super Bowl since I saw you guys last. So the Seahawks pretty much dominated the Pats throughout the game. It was pretty much a defensive game, specifically at the first half. But what we learned out of this game is defense wins championships, and that's something that a lot of people have said for a long period of time, and it really hasn't changed. The teams that went to the NFC Championship, you have the Seahawks and the Rams, and then the AFC Championship with the Pats and the Broncos, they all have elite defenses. But what the blueprint of what Dave Canales, Dan Morgan, and Brant Tillis should be looking at here is building our front 7. And I think only a couple of these guys, and it's mainly on the secondary side of the ball, at the secondary position, were drafted. The rest were picked up in free agency. So we already spent draft picks with Nick Scorton and Princely. It's time to add to the edge rushing position. I like Pat Jones, cool, but we can get better than that. I think that would be a good added depth piece, but we need, and that's what we're going to go over, we need to add at the edge rushing position, but also defensive line. And that's what the Panthers have been notorious for with when we had good defenses, is up front, that defensive line. We already have Derek Brown. Can we add another guy? Or maybe we get that in the draft. But we need to start adding pieces to this defensive line, okay? And then also linebacker position. This front 7 needs to be retooled. Now, Turk Wharton was out majority of last year. I think he played maybe a handful of games. He didn't really get you know acclimated to game. Being in game shape, and he was okay when he played. But I feel like if you can get a good season out of him, health wise, I think you'll see him, Ashawn Robinson, if he stays. I could see Ashawn Robinson being a cap casualty. We'll save around $8-10 million, but we need to build the front seven. You need to have on one side of the ball, and you need to be elite. And I would like to be elite defensively. The Seahawks they got to Drake May consistently without even blitzing that often. They were constantly sending 4, and when they did blitz there, it was very calculated and very smart. And even the nickel position, I forget the nickel's name for the Seahawks, Witherspoon, I think, but that shows like how valuable nickel is on the defense, specifically in the 3-4. So I think defensive tackle is something that we need to address. Obviously, edge rusher is something we're going to need to address, specifically in free agency. Would I be mad at if a talent drops in the 19th overall pick? No, but we need to get some guys. And it's it's going to be nice. It would be nice to get some top tier guys that we're going to talk about in a little bit, but it wouldn't also be bad to get several really good guys that are not top tier that can still contribute. And that's what you saw with the Seahawks. They were constantly getting pressure, and it wasn't the same person. It was collectively they're getting pressure. That's what you want on defense, because then what can you do offensively from a schematic standpoint? You can't really do anything because everybody on the defense is contributing. So we need to build our front seven the way the defense did. And it's not just through the draft. We need to get some good quality veterans in here to improve the edge rushing position, inside linebacker position, and or maybe the defensive tackle position. But I think nickel is very important too. So a lot of we're trending in the right direction. Evero got this team from the worst team in the league to good, 15th overall, and that's without a pass rush. So if you can give him a pass rush, I think you'll see him be a little bit more aggressive on his play calling. So, good. And then also former Panther player, good for Sam Darnold. That proves if Sam Darnold can win a Super Bowl, so can Bryce Young. I don't care what anybody says. Bryce Young is better than Sam Darnold. He is. Sam Darnold, great defense, great running game. And he still can be careless with the football, but he also made some good plays. I'm not saying I don't want to take anything away from him, but Sam Darnold is the reason why they won the Super Bowl and made it. Made it to the Super Bowl and won it. It's building a team, a lot of talent on both offense and defensive side of the ball, and again, being elite on one side of the ball. Seattle's elite on defense, and they're good on offense and didn't screw it up. So that's how we need to build our team. Be elite on defense. We need obviously everything starts in the trenches. Can you put pressure on the quarterback? Can you protect the quarterback? Those are the biggest things. And it's always been the biggest thing. But sometimes we lose sight of that where everyone wants this superstar quarterback, which would be great. I would love a superstar quarterback. I would love to have Mahomes, and Mahomes has shown that he can carry a team, but he also has shown that he can't always do it alone. You got to have a good team around you. You have to have good players around you. Mahomes won when he had Travis Kelce, and he had oh my God, I'm just blanking on the wide receiver's name. That's really fast. That went to Miami. Tyreek Hill, thank you. You got to have some playmakers. It can't just be by yourself. And he had a good defense behind him. So I say all that to say is it's okay if Bryce Young is an elite. I don't think he will be, but can he be an elite game manager? I think so. He's shown that he can make clutch plays and clutch moments, and he's still growing. So I'm excited where this team is going, but we do need to continue to build specifically in the front seven and be able to apply more pressure on the opposing quarterbacks. But speaking of Evero, since the last time I saw you, Evero is staying in Carolina. So the Raiders are set to hire Clint Kubiak, the offensive coordinator for the Seahawks. Evero Was interviewed by the Raiders twice, but Kubiak makes sense. He's going to be the head coach, offensive-minded head coach. And this might not sound flashy, but this isn't a bad thing for the Panthers. It's in a league where a lot of good coordinators never really stick around. Carolina's keeping a good defensive coordinator. I know some people may not like Evero, but again, he took the worst defense in the league to being average. Just being average. And that was without a pass rush. Can you imagine the Panthers with the pass rush? We already have a really good secondary. Yes, we need to get better at nickel, and yes, we could upgrade at Nick Scott. But with the way our secondary was last year, if you add a decent edge rushing group to that, we're going to be top 10 easily. We're going to make that step to being elite. So, Canales obviously trusts Evero, his scheme. He's praised Evero as far as his defenses, how his defense goes as far as communication, playing physical. He does like his pressure packages, but again, you can't really have that many pressure packages whenever you don't have got the guys to put the pressure on them. The only person that Evero had that he could play, that he could be versatile with was Trayvon Moehrig. So we need to add some players to that. I still think Evero's a good coach. I think he's going to be a head coach probably next season. So if we can make that step defensively and get some guys that can get pressure on the quarterback, I think you're going to see Evero become a head coach next season. So again, this isn't a bad thing. I do think that playing too soft, specifically again when we played against the Rams in the wild card playoff game, with 2.5 minutes left and you're playing soft against Stafford that loves to pick apart his own defenses. I don't like that. But at the same time, he's always had this bend, don't break defense. And, it is what it is. We couldn't get pressure on the quarterback. So Evero's going to be here for another year. But one person that we actually did hire today actually is, according to Joe Person, Panthers are bringing in veteran NFL coach Darrell Bevell as the associate head coach offensive specialist. So Bevell was the Seahawks OC from 2011 to 2017 when Dave Canales was in Seattle, and was most recently Miami's QB coach, pass game coordinator with Mike McDaniels. Bevell has a lot of play calling experience. He's served as a mentor to Dave Canales in Seattle. So it's going to be interesting to see if Canales has Bevell handle play calling, which I doubt. I think I believe that he trusts Brad Idzik, but I think he's pretty much having Bevell come in as a mentor to help him continue to improve as a play caller. As a head coach, I think Dave Canales is a great head coach, but as a play caller, he needs to improve. At a minimum, Bevell is going to have a big hand in the offensive game planning, which I think is great. I do think we'll talk about Bryce Young, Dave Canales, and the deep throwing the ball down the field consistently, but I think this is a good thing, right? Some people were like, "Oh, why are we hiring people just to hire people?" Like, it doesn't count against the salary cap. Who cares if he's going to help Dave Canales by 10%? Then great. Let this guy mentor Dave. I think this is great. So it didn't sway me one way or another, but this isn't a bad signing. So the way I came away from it. But one thing I didn't like was, according to Jeremy Fowler, the Browns have requested an interview Panthers defensive pass game coordinator Jonathan Cooley for their defensive coordinator job. Cooley was requested Jacksonville last year. This is who I do not want to leave Carolina. Like, obviously, if Cooley gets the job, congrats to the guy. But as a fan, I don't want this guy to leave. When Evero was being interviewed by the Raiders and he was possibly going to be hired as a head coach, this was the guy that was most likely to be taking over the defense. I was with Cooley. I think Raheem Morris was probably on the top, but I think this was probably their top guy to take over internally. So, young defensive-minded guy. I really like how we're developing young coaches and they're progressing. I think that's great. Just like we are doing that with the players, we're doing that with the coaches. So shout out to Cooley. Congratulations with the interview, but I hope you stay a Panther. And then some other news, since I saw you guys, was Teterola McMillan, T-Mac, got Offensive Rookie of the Year. This didn't surprise me at all. The only other rookie that I felt like was competitive with T-Mac in this position was Trevion Hendrickson, the running back for the Patriots. Otherwise, T-Mac, this was just a clear-cut choice. I know some Saints fans are kind of bummed about, oh, Tyler Shough, he played really well. Well, you can't play less than half the season and be rookie of the year, bro. Sorry, not sorry. I do think Tyler Shough will be a decent quarterback, but you're not winning the rookie of the year by playing 8 games. T-Mac was the number one option, number one target as a rookie with Bryce Young, this young team that wasn't expected to make the playoffs. He contributed in a big way, over 1,000 yards. I think he had 8 touchdowns, somewhere around there, but he contributed in a big way. So shout out to T-Mac and congratulations to you, sir. And I am really stoked about the continuing progress with not just you, but Jalen Coker as wide receiver too. Now, the other thing I'm proud about and excited about, Luke Kuechly. That's why I'm wearing this shirt here. So congratulations to Luke. The second Panther to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, I believe, that we drafted. So you have Julius Peppers and now Luke Kuechly. I felt like Luke Kuechly should have been a first ballot Hall of Famer, to be honest with you. But, from the reports that I read, that it's mainly due to him. If he played a little bit longer, I think that was a no-brainer. But because of how he ended things kind of early and abruptly, I feel like that was one of the reasons why. But, Luke was to me, he was the best linebacker I've ever seen. And I saw a little bit of Sam Mills. I've been a fan of the team since '96. Luke Kuechly was an animal, bro, from just instincts, being physical, relentless, good motor, great coverage skills. He improved from a blitzing standpoint after his rookie year, being able to dissect plays, sniff out the run. Like, this dude could do it all. 7-time Pro Bowler, 5-time first-team All-Pro, offensive rookie of the year, had the defensive rookie of the year, all-decade team. Like, this guy's a beast, man. And he's humble. I thought it was really cool to see the video of Julius Peppers congratulating Luke. Luke is such a humble guy. He's never going to pat himself on the back. I thought it was also cool that Greg Olsen FaceTimed him to congratulate him. Obviously, I don't know if you guys have heard, but his brother passed away. That's why he wasn't there. So prayers up to Greg and your family. But this was really cool to watch and see. So I like watching the Hall of Fame inductees. Was it Craig Davis that was finally inducted? You had Adam Vinatieri. I forget some of the other players, but it was a lot more fun to watch than the Pro Bowl. So shout out to Luke. And then since I've been away, we've had a couple of interviews. So the first interview was with Pat McAfee interviewing our owner, David Tepper. And so Pat McAfee has always been critical of David Tepper with, a lot of things, and asked several, I thought, very intriguing, good questions. I thought overall this was a good interview for David Tepper, but Tep acknowledged past tension between himself and the fans. He feels like that things have kind of settled down since all that. He really emphasized trusting management, improving drafting players, which has allowed him to be a little bit more hands off. He feels like the culture's improved. The whole building feels better. Tepper did address some criticism that he meddled in football decisions. He kind of explained that the early struggles made him want to fix things and that outsiders didn't really see the internal problems happening inside the building. But pretty much said when he trusts leadership, he can become more hands-off. He talked about how owners shouldn't really be involved in day-to-day football operations. However, he admitted being involved in strategy, financial decisions, early draft round picks, so first and second round. And I get if I'm an owner, I would definitely want to be in the process, but you have to, as an owner too. I don't know if you guys own a business, or you can't be you can try to be, but you're usually not the expert in every field when it comes to whatever business you own. Sometimes you want to strive to be, but you have to allow, especially in those in big companies and obviously in the NFL, you need to hire good football minds. And you're obviously, no disrespect, not a good football mind. And when you have someone that's just a fan, an owner, trying to influence the guys that you're hiring, influence their decision based on what you would like them to do, it's not going to work out for you. So, not saying he did this, but you're pretty much saying like, "Hey, I want this guy. So if you don't get this guy and he pans out, and the guy that you get doesn't, you're out." You know, so I felt like he was a little bit too hands on, and that kind of pressured, I think, some decisions. Um, but I like that he's been hands off. He's allowing Dan Morgan, Brant Tillis, Dave Canales to do their thing. And as they're doing their thing each year, they've gotten better. This is what happens when you when you allow people that are smarter than you in this aspect in football to do and to have the final say in decisions. Now, if you're an owner, right? And again, if I was an owner, I would want to be involved, but I'm not going to pressure anybody to make decisions. Now, the only time I would be butting and not allowing my GM to do making certain specific decisions when it came to, like, say, for example, Deshaun Watson. If my GM wanted to sign Deshaun Watson and give up 3 first-round picks and have a fully guaranteed contract, and he was like, "Yeah, let's do it." I'm like, So like certain big aspects like that, I get it. But like round 1, round 2, and they're trying to grow a team, you don't know how to grow a team. You just want to win. I get that. We all want to win, but it takes a process. So I appreciate that he acknowledged that. So hopefully he's learned his mistakes, that he doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't know what's best interest of the team when it comes to roster building. So I'm glad that stay back. That's all. Keep staying back. So coming in once a year and be on the Pat McAfee show that's great. He also addressed the Jacksonville drink throwing situation. That was where he threw a drink at a fan. He said the fans were harassing him throughout the game. It was when Marquise Haynes was injured. I believe he had a concussion on the field, and a fan insulted him. And so he said he reacted emotionally, threw a drink on him, and pretty much said those guys are like your kids. He said it was more as a protective move than just out of anger. But I mean, and I respect that. Like, if they're like, if that's your brother, right? Like, I never played professional football, but I was in the Marines, and you develop a bond with guys that they become your brother, your sister. And if anybody messes with your brother or sister, you're going to react. And so I can respect that. Like, if someone's being, disrespectful or rude or whatever you want to call it, to someone that and you like that's injured, that's not cool. So I get that, but I do think, like, as an owner, obviously when that happened, it didn't look good on you. But in that case, when that happened, you should have just said, "Hey, I shouldn't have done that, but this is what happened," and say, just facts don't care about your feelings, right? Just that's honestly what happened. I think most fans, especially Panther fans, are like, "Cool, I'm riding with this owner. I'm glad that he did that." So I did think, looking back on that, because I always thought it was kind of an unclassy move and it made us look bad. But looking back on it now and how he talked about why he did it, I'm cool with that, to be honest with you. And then also one of the other questions was Tepper talked about and clarified media narratives about Cam Newton. He said that what is said in the media and what's reality aren't always correct, which is true. But he said Cam was always welcome back. He said that he personally called him and invited him to return for the wild card game against the Rams. He wanted his energy in the stadium, which it was electric. And I get, what is said in the media and what's reality aren't always correct. That's true. And I don't know verbatim. I remember Cam talking about this and on 4th and 1. I don't know exactly what he said, so don't quote me on it. But he pretty much gave the vibe that there was some clash between him and Tepper. There was. Now, maybe the media spun it a little bit more extreme than it was in-house. That's possible. But there was definitely some tension between those two, for sure. For sure. So hopefully it's squashed. Hopefully Cam will come to the games a lot more often and bring that energy. But he's doing his thing on 4th and 1, man. He is. I've really been enjoying that show. But while we're talking about 4th and 1, the other interview I want to talk about is the interview with him and XL. So him and XL sat down. This is during Super Bowl weekend. or Super Bowl week, and he talked about performance versus expectations, talking about Excel's play. He talked about the eye test problem. So Cam's point was basically Leggett looks like a star physically. He has the size, the speed, the strength, but the production hasn't matched yet. Leggett talked about saying he believes he needs more meaningful opportunities, that some targets he received didn't put him in a position to actually make plays. And this is one of the things that, and I'll talk about another thing that really just, bro, you can't say that. Like, and I get it. And to be honest, he is telling the truth a little bit here, right? So as far as him needing more meaningful plays, bro, every play is meaningful. There's not a play that's not meaningful. You need to take advantage of every opportunity you have. You need to be able, whatever, if it's a screenplay, if it's a, 2-yard slant, a 5-yard out, whatever, a 5-yard comeback. Every play is meaningful. You need to be able to execute on those plays. When you execute on those plays, Bryce trusts you, Canales trusts you, you get more opportunities. And those less meaningful opportunities was because you weren't holding your end of the bargain year 1 and year 2, bro. You weren't catching the ball. You weren't being aware of where you were in bounds. You had these mental mistakes. And you could see it, like you do. Cam mentioned before, you have the physical tools, but mentally you're not there all the time, bro. You're not. You just seem checked out. You seem defeated. And Cam, I do like that he had him on here, kind of checking him and giving the big bro like pat on the back. Let's do this. Like XL, like can be really good, but he's not being good right now. He's not, bro. Like he talked about, I'm not going to say he didn't have any accountability for anything this season, but he talked about reviewing film, self-evaluating, improving his game details. He says he trusts Dave Canales and the Panthers have a plan for his development. I don't know if he really means that or not, but Leggett pretty much said that he doesn't think the issue is talent. He thinks it's uses and development. He was talking about how he wants more deep balls, choice routes, pretty much plays designed to put him in the driver's seat. Like you lose those plays, bro, when you're not executing the ones that are given to you. Now, again, going back, I do think that Dave Canales can do a better job game planning schematically on your skill set because you're a faster wide receiver. You're a more physical wide receiver. Jalen Cooker is too. So is T-Mac. But I think you're a little bit more physical. You're faster. You could be a deep threat. And there is a case, I do think that. I didn't like that when they did the wide receiver screens and all that. I didn't like that at all because it didn't fit your skill set. That's more of a Jimmy Horn skill set, right? It takes time for you to kind of build up to the 4.3 speed. Jimmy Horn is just like more like explosive that way. But I just didn't like he said those things, man, to be honest with you. And then one of the other things that just really scratched my head where you just cannot say this. You cannot say this. Even though it's true, you cannot say this. Cam was talking about giving him advice, talk about how when him and Greg Olsen, they would meet weekly and watch film together. They would discuss how each player saw the play differently. And that led to great communication and trust. And pretty much XL said, I don't do that with Bryce. Bro, what do you mean you don't do that? What do you mean you don't sit down and talk to your quarterback about game film and how you can improve so that way you get the ball? What do you mean? This is your job. What do you mean you don't do that? You cannot say that. Like that I lose a little respect from XL with that, right? Like you can't get a pass from that, bro. This is your job. People can't hold your hand. You got to take accountability for yourself and you put the work in. You can't say, I need to be developed. I need to be used right. Jalen Coker, for a while, should have been wide receiver for a long time, but he kept at it. He kept at it to the point where Dave Canales was forced to put him at wide receiver 2 and you're at wide receiver 3. That should be your mindset this year, that you keep at it to where you're playing like DK Metcalf, Hollywood Brown type of ball. And now it's like, well, wait, Coker, maybe we put you back on the slot, or we start sharing, wide receiver 2A, 2B. You need to have that mindset. You can't like hope that your coach puts you in a position to succeed and just does everything for you, bro. And yes, I think he could do a better job from a schematic standpoint for your skill set, but you gotta take advantage of all the opportunities that you're getting. So this was not a good look by XL. I felt like this interview really started getting, at least for me, my thoughts saying like, bro, like they can move on from you. Like I wouldn't be mad if they moved on from you. I think if they can get a 3rd round pick, I think, which I don't think is like too expensive to ask, because you still got what, 3 years on your rookie deal. You know, maybe you could sneak a 2 in. You know, we're able to get a 3rd round pick for what's bro's name that wasn't going to be on the team for a while, that went to Dallas. I forgot his name, but if we can, I think we could get a 2 or a 3, or maybe a 3rd and a 4th. And I think if we can get that, I think you're going to see that happen now, because you got T-Mac, that's good, wide receiver 1, Jalen Coker, wide receiver 2. They're stamped at that position right now for a long time, for a while. You got Jimmy Horn that started getting more opportunities down the field. You got Bryson Tremaine that's playing really well. Like, bro, we may not need your services anymore. Now, I want you to stay, and I hope you can live to your potential, play to your potential, because I think you can be a hell of a receiver. But the way you've been playing and what your production has been, you're expendable, bro. You know, that's the way I see it for sure. Let me pull something up here. Whoops. He just threw Bryce under the bus with that. He kind of did. Whoops. He kind of threw Dave Canales under the bus too, but he threw himself under the bus, admitting that he did not sit down with your quarterback. How do you not sit down with your quarterback and go over a game film, bro? Like, I lose a little respect for XL on this, bro. Like, this is not a good look, and I hope he has a really good offseason and proves his worth, but he's expendable right now. Makes it look like Bryce ain't taking leadership by saying that, like, oh, he doesn't care to bring me in on the convo. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that does come across that way, but I do think also this just puts himself in a bad light. Like, Bryce is doing this with T-Mac and Jalen Coker, because they've talked about that before. T-Mac and him would go over after practice every day. Hey, what did you like here? Did you like that I was here? Should I do this? Should I do that? Why is my camera bugging, bro? And so did Coker. Coker and him went to a California trip together. Like, you got to do that stuff. Like, as an offense, they all did together when Adam Thielen last offseason. They all went on a fishing trip, but like, you gotta be able to sit down with your quarterback and figure out what did you see on this play. I was seeing this. What did you see? So that way, when the same play comes up and the same situation comes up, you know what each other is thinking, and you're going to execute the play more. Like that in the NFL, that's how you win and lose, is game film and being able to, because they're all good at what they do, but you got to be able to know how each other are going to play. Like, you got to know each other. It's important. You got to develop chemistry. Yeah, I mean, he didn't really take any accountability. He didn't take any accountability. He talked about, like, I actually need to self-evaluate. I need to do this, but at the end of the day, he was pretty much saying, it's not me, it's you. That's what he was saying. So didn't like that at all. Okay. All right. So enough of that. One thing I saw that I thought was interesting was this stat: Bryce Young, first in the NFL when it comes to passing grade and big time throw rate, when he's throwing 20 plus yards this season. That is huge. And this is what I saw throughout this season. Now, Bryce Young did struggle a little bit, specifically in the first half of the season, but I think you also got to get those. One, you need to start playing these guys in the preseason, so that way they're not just kind of getting the dust rusted off of them and getting going. You need to get these guys going in the preseason. 1, 2. Even with Bryce, you can't coddle Bryce. Like, this is where I think specifically, because you want to be really good towards the back half of the season. You need to allow him to make mistakes because that's how you're going to learn. Now, there's a balance to it where you want to win football games, but you also can't win that many football games when your average depth of target is 4 or 3, which is what it was with the 49ers game, right? But then you play the Rams and your average depth of target is 10 to 11 to 15. And you see how much better he is when you allow him to throw the ball down the field, and you have Jalen Coker, wide receiver, too. But when you allow him to throw down the ball down the field, and this year, the offensive line, there were injuries. There was a good amount of injuries. Robert Hunt was out. You had, excuse me, you had, I think Cade Mays was out for a little bit. You had Damian Lewis that was banged up a little bit. So you had Taylor Moton was out a little bit. So you had injuries throughout the line, but he also is really good at covering those things up and be able to move throughout the pocket a little bit, which I don't think a lot of fans really give him that much credit for. But this is something that I hope Dave Canales really sees as through his him kind of self-evaluating himself this season. You looking at how the game played out on the games you didn't allow him to throw the ball and the games you didn't. What do the games look like when you did allow him to throw it that 20 plus yards pretty consistently? And what do the games look like when you didn't do that? And I watched all of them. And when you allowed Bryce Young to throw the ball down the field, this offense looked totally different. This offense looked totally different when he took all the chains off the offense and Bryce Young and we played the Rams. We saw that with the Falcons game the year before that at the end of the year. This offense, Dave Canales' offense can be really good, but he needs to be able to trust more. You can tell when he's not trusting his quarterback in the offense because they're playing very conservatively. Now, we did run really well. The first half of the season we were running really well, and you go with a hot hand, but you got to be able to throw the ball down the field too. You got to be able to throw the ball down the field. So hopefully Bryce continues to do this. And Dave Canales improves on the play calling. It ironically felt like once Coker was 100%, the D ball came 100% because their connection is ridiculous. Now, I did feel like XL had a couple of decent catches. There was one, I can't remember who it was against, but it was a go route, and he caught it for a touchdown. And it was like a perfect throw, great catch. But you can see the chemistry between Jalen Coker, right, and Bryce Young. And then when you look at Bryce Young and XL, it just looks sloppy. Hopefully they can get together this offseason and develop and get better together as far as like their play on the field. Okay, let's get into the edge rushers. All right, let's get into the edge rushers. So we obviously need edge help. It's no secret. Anybody that's a fan of this team knows that we were one of the worst teams in the NFL when it came to pressure up against opposing quarterbacks. It's arguably the biggest need this offseason. In my opinion, it is the biggest need this offseason. We only got 30 sacks this year, third fewest. Nick Scorton got 5, Derek Brown got 5. They tied for the most sacks on the team. And it's crazy to think. I was thinking about the Super Bowl and how I believe they got 7 sacks on one game, which is a Super Bowl record, I believe. And I thought about that. I'm like, wow, they almost got 1/3 of our sacks that in one game that we got in the whole entire year. That's how bad we are at getting to the quarterback. We were last in the NFL when it came to pressures. We were 31st at pressure rate. Again, while the pass rush struggled, the overall pass defense did good. We ranked 15th overall in the league. We only allowed just over 200 yards per game. And again, like, I believe in being fair, specifically to Evero here. Poor pass rush equals you're forcing him to call defenses a certain way. I get the 3rd and longs, but when you have no pressure coming from the defensive line or the edge rushers, you have to play soft coverage. But I do believe if we get consistent pressure, that will allow Evero to give exotic and creative and be more creative with his play calls. Now, again, we've drafted Nick Scorton. We drafted Princely Uman Yellen. Kind of said that right. But we need veteran help. again, we could draft one if the value is there, but sign a free agent edge rusher is a must. This is a must. This is going to be how last year when uh we needed help at the defensive line. You saw that we went after Milton Williams, and then there was a game plan after that if we didn't get him. And unfortunately, freaking Patriots came in and swooped them up. But this is going to be something that we're going to target. Now, we could go out and get a premier edge rusher, which I'm not going to be mad about. But I also wouldn't be mad if we got two really decent edge rushers. Because again, with Seattle's defense, you saw that they got pressure from all different areas. It was the edge rushers, the linebackers, the interior defensive linemen. It was the nickelbacks. So we need to add more quality, more talent to the front seven specifically, because we still need inside linebacker help. We could get better, way better than Christian Roseboom, and we can get better than Trevin Wallace. I do think, obviously, we're going to keep Trevin Wallace, but I think I wouldn't be mad at drafting an inside linebacker, getting an inside linebacker in free agency, and him being a depth piece. I think inside linebacker help is a top 3 need, along with left tackle, to be honest with you. But edge rusher to me is you gotta do this. So I could see them double dip again, free agency, the draft, but I think it's highly unlikely you'll see an edge rusher at 19. But you never know. I just believe in free agency. You get what you need. In the draft, that's where you build your team. You get the best player available. That's where you're adding more talent. So if a guy dropped that's a really good cornerback, and we already have Mike Jackson and J.C. Horn, maybe Mike Jackson's a little expendable. Maybe we can trade him. So you want to be able to do well in the draft, so that way you're paying less money, you're getting younger talent, right? It gives you a lot of versatility in what Dan Morgan and Brent Tillis can do. But I do think you got to go out and sign a free agent. Now, again, most of these guys are guys that are free agents, but there's a couple of guys that we could get if we traded. It would be Hath with the trade. So Max Crosby. So there's a lot of reports that he wants out. I haven't really heard a statement from him. I'm assuming this is true. You have Adam Schefter that's reported this. A lot of other reporters that have reported this as well, but it looks like he wants out, and it's going to take a Micah Parsons trade to get him, which I think it was, what was Micah Parsons, 2 firsts and a second? I don't think you'll see that, but I think it could be a first and a third, maybe a first and a second. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't be too mad about it. Now, like, Max Crosby is only 28, about to turn 29, and you get him for 3 or 4 years. Now you got that premier edge rusher. Then you have Nick Scott on the other side, and then maybe you draft a Caleb Banks from Clemson at the defensive tackle. Now Ashawn Robinson is expendable. You save $2 million there. You get a nickel back. So there's a lot of things that we could do, a lot of options. But Max Crosby would have to trade for him. So this is someone, if we're going to trade, this is who I would like. Kayvon Thibodeau. I don't know exactly what I would want to be able to give up for him. Obviously, the New York Giants defense was really good. A lot of good pieces. Brian Burns went there. I feel like he flourished because they have a lot of good pieces on defense. Kayvon Thibodeau is one of them. I believe he was drafted the same draft as Ike Ekwonu, if I'm not mistaken. But this is a guy that we could trade, but what are we giving up for him? Are we going to give up a second? Okay, cool. I'm not giving up a first for him. I don't think he's worth the first. Jermaine Johnson, that's a possibility as well. Maybe you give a second or third for him. So there's other possibilities outside of the free agents that we're going to talk about, but these guys are guys that we'd have to trade for in order for us to acquire them. Now, let's get into the free agents here. So Trey Hendrickson. Obviously a big name that's been circulating on Twitter for a while now. So he is 31 years old. He's a little older. He's 6'4", 270 pounds, but he has been a consistent good pass rusher, an elite pass rusher, where he's previously had 17.5 sacks back in 23 and 24. This past season, he only played 7 games, where he did get injured back, I think it was week 6. He had an injury that persisted until about week 8, is where he was sidelined due to a core issue. And then around December, he ultimately went and did surgery to repair the core muscle. But he only played 7 games. Again, he had 4 sacks and 16 tackles and 1 forced fumble, but he's going to cost us some money. He could sign a 2-3 year deal, 20-25 million dollars per year. I would expect at least 2 year deal, but probably three, where you can get out on the third year. But again, injury and age is a factor. I get that, but like we gotta get a guy. So this is someone I would be stoked to have him. Nick Scoring on the other side, get another interior player. Again, if you're getting rid of Ashawn Robinson, maybe you draft again, we talked about Caleb Banks at Clemson. I think that's a possibility. So I think this would be a lot of Panther fans would really be pretty excited about this, to be honest with you. So this is that would be Trey Hendrickson again. I will be interested to see where he goes, but he'll be the first domino in my opinion. Him and Max Crosby will be the first dominoes going to free agency. You also have Jalen Phillips. So Jalen Phillips, he was traded to Philly. Miami traded him to Philly for a 3rd-round pick. Philly clearly viewed him as a missing pass rush piece for a playoff run. He was traded mid-season, but he's one of the most naturally gifted edge rushers in the NFL that I've seen in a while. In Miami, he did have flashes of like really good star level ability, but injuries kept affecting him. When he's on the field, though, and healthy, he plays like a true number one pass rusher and noticeably improves the defense around him. His talent is not questioned anywhere around the league, only his durability. So you have his pass rush ability is elite. He's got an explosive first step. He has great bend around the edge. He's really good about hand placement, and he wins both with speed and technique. He consistently generates pressure. He's not just an athletic speed rusher. He's technically skilled. He tackles do struggle with him because he can't beat them, because he can beat them multiple ways. But with Philly, you did see when they traded for him, you did see that immediate impact on their pass rush. He had roughly a 20% pressure rate his debut with the Eagles. PFF gave him a 74 overall PFF grade, which was 34th out of 115th pass rushers. He was 34th in the NFL. He was ranked top 10 in pressure grade, but sacks definitely didn't match the pressure. He only had 5 sacks in 15 games, 3 with Miami and 2 in Philly. He's a pressure creator more than a box score sack artist. He has really good effort and versatility, a high motor. He is a 3-down edge rusher. Offenses, you have to game plan for this guy. He's not a situational rusher, but he's really good at run defense too. He's very underrated, a run defender. He's very underrated when it comes to strength as well. But that I think is one of the biggest separators for him, is that he's not just a pass rusher, an elite pass rusher, but he is good at run defense, which is great for Evero. That is what Evero is looking for. He can set the edge. He's strong enough versus power run teams. But again, the concerns with this guy is more not that it's more injury history. So it's the big major red flag. He had a torn Achilles back in 2023, a torn ACL the year after that. He's had back-to-back major low body injuries for a player whose game really relies on explosiveness. But durability is an issue. 23, he missed 12 games. 2024, he missed the entire season. This year, he played 15 games. So I'm not worried about how he plays. I'm worried about how often he can play. He was given the 5th-year option. Eagles already spent a 3rd-round pick on him. So any team acquiring him is committing real money, real assets to a player with a major injury risk. So, key takeaway, I think he can be a franchise pass rusher. When he's healthy, I think he is a championship level defensive piece that elevates the entire defense, but his value comes down to one factor, and that's availability. It's not a talent risk, it's a health risk. So that's the decision that I think a lot of teams are going to have to make. Are you betting on elite upside or preparing for missed time? So this is a guy that if we sign him, I'm stoked, but can he stay healthy? Just like Turk Warren. Can he stay healthy? So that's Jalen Phillips. The other one is Odafe Owa. So Odafe came from the Chargers. He was traded midseason from Baltimore to the Chargers. He's 6'5", 257 pounds. He's 27 years old. He's young. He came from Penn State, where he played outside linebacker for a 4-3 defense, but switched to edge when he was drafted by Baltimore, and then obviously played with the Chargers at 3-4. So this guy is very fast, very athletic. He runs a 4.4 coming out of college. He had a high 81.6 PFF grade with the Chargers, but he does struggle to produce consistent sack numbers in his first 4 years with the Ravens before the trade. So his rookie season, he had 5 sacks. Second year, 3 sacks. 2023, he had 5 sacks. 2024, he had 10 sacks. And then Baltimore traded him after 5 games, and where he had 0 sacks. And then with the Chargers, he played, I believe it was 12 games, and he got 7.5 sacks. So during the regular season, he recorded a massive 3-game sack when he played. He had 3 sacks and 2 forced fumbles when he played in the wildcard game against the Patriots. So really good production, with the Chargers is just limited. And can he do that a full season? He's a really excellent pass rusher, but his run defense was not nearly as effective. Again, elite production the back half of the season with the Chargers, but can he do it consistently throughout the season? He had, again, 7.5 sacks, but he also had a good amount of pressures. He had 51 pressures and 30 hurries with the Chargers. But they ranked him 35th overall in the NFL at edge. So I don't think he's going to be cheap, but I don't think he's going to be a top tier guy. He's not going to be a guy that's going to be making top tier edge rushing money. So this is someone that I could see I would be happy about us signing, and then maybe sign another guy. So this is definitely a possibility with the Panthers. And then one of the guys, the Seahawks, you have Boye Mafe. So he is 27 years old as well. He's 6'4", 261 pounds. He was drafted by Seattle back in 2022. This guy has elite physical tools. He's an athletic freak. This guy is an athletic freak. Like, his RAS score is 99.9. This guy is super strong. He has a lot of high pressure. Like, he gets a lot of pressure on the quarterback, but it doesn't always convert to sacks. That was the knock that I saw looking at his film, was he consistently got pressure on quarterbacks. And earlier in the season this year, he was ranked one of the top edge defenders in pass rush win rate at around 30%, which is really good. He's a really consistent, good run defender. Beyond rushing the passer, Mafe has developed into a really good edge setter in the run game. He was ranked top 15 run defending edge rusher by PFF. He's been a durable player as well throughout his career with Seattle. He's been very coachable, has improved his pass rush moves since being drafted. But again, the sack production is worrisome. He only had 2 sacks this season, but again, pressures and hurries matter. We were almost dead last when it came to pressures, and pressures can help other guys get sacks as well. So his PFF grade ranked him 46th out of 115 edge rushers, and his pressures was ranked 48 out of 115. And 15th overall in hurries. So this is someone where if maybe they signed Boye Mafe and they signed the boy's name we just talked about, Odafe Owahu, I can't remember, Odafe. I don't want to keep butchering his last name, but those are some guys that I feel like you get 2 good quality edge rushers there, and you have a Nick Scord and you have a Pat Jones II. Now all of a sudden you went from your edge rushing position went from a weakness to a strength. Now, another guy I think that is a possibility is someone that we saw not too long ago was our boy Clavon Chason. So he is 27 years old as well. He was drafted by Jacksonville back in 2020, and he played for Jacksonville from 2020 to 2023. And then in 2024, the Panthers signed him to a 1-year, $5 million prove-it deal. But he was released in September because they thought he wasn't really going to be able to make the team, and actually then signed with the Raiders and had a decent season. And then this past offseason, New England signed him, and he had, I think, he played an elite level. He served as one of the top pass rushers for the Patriots. He led the team in pressures with 58, and he added 18 more pressures in the playoffs. He showed up in big games with 3 sacks in the playoffs this year, tied for the team lead, proving that he can perform under pressure. He's very versatile. He has speed, flexibility. You're able to use him as a stunt rusher, as a chase down defender, and he's improving as a run stopper too. And he has a very high motor, good character. He's described as a disciplined guy. He's very coachable, do your job mentality. But the biggest question mark for him would be, despite his breakout season with the Patriots, he has historically struggled consistently as both as a pass rusher and a run defender, with concerns that he could be a one-year wonder guy. So, at times, there's some knocks on him that he can, he's not able to get off the block on times, particularly against the run. But this is a guy again where maybe you get a Clavon Chase on, you get a boy Mafi, or you get a Dafi Awahi or whatever. Awa. I keep butchering his name. But this is a guy that, again, we add a bunch of talent. Maybe you don't get a top tier guy, but you get 2 good quality guys. So we'll see. But this is an option for the Panthers as well. Another option, a couple options I think are a lot less likely and I wouldn't like as much, but I wouldn't be mad about this one, would be Joey Bosa. So Bosa, he had a 1-year deal with Buffalo where he signed a $12.6 million contract, but it was a bargain. The guy played 15 games, 5 sacks, 47 pressures, and he was first in the NFL with 5 forced fumbles. This guy is high IQ edge rusher. He is really good at diagnosing plays well. He is an aging vet at 30, but still 30 isn't terrible, but he's getting a little older. But maybe you sign him for a 2-year deal or a 1 to 2 year deal as more of a stop gap guy until we get a long-term fix at this position. But if we can't get one of the top edge rushers in free agency this offseason, this is a signing I wouldn't be mad at. This is, again, you get a Joey Bosa and you get one of the other mid-tier guys. I'm not mad about that at all. It's still allowing, you still have good competition at the edge rusher position. You still have Nick Scott and Princely there. So this is a possibility. And the other possibility that we could sign is someone I think is a lot less likely. This would be more of a depth piece, but Malcolm Kunsey. So Malcolm Kunsey, he is 27 as well. And this is what the Panthers, and the reason why I have a bunch of these players that are 27, because we've been notoriously signing guys in their first big contract that are still developing, right? So this is another guy that's developing. He's 6'2", 250 pounds. He was drafted by the Raiders back in 2021. In 2023, he had a really good season where he had 8 sacks, a couple of forced fumbles, and he had good consistent pressure, QB pressure. But this season, he only had 4.5 sacks. Again, you have Max Crosby on the other side. I'm not too knowledgeable as far as how they are interiorly at defensive tackle, but when you have one of the top tier players on the other side of the ball, that should open up things for you as well. I was hoping, maybe that you got a little bit more production, but 4.5 sacks isn't great. He did show that he can disrupt offenses when healthy. So he wins with quickness, burst. He has good bend around the tackles. He's a very fast edge rusher. He's not a powerful one, but he's a fast one. But in my opinion, this guy is more of a pass rushing specialist, not a true every down edge rusher. He played approximately about 66% snaps of the pass rushing snaps and only 30% of the run defensive snaps. His the run defense is not as good as the pass rush, the pass rushes that he had. So PFF graded him 58 PFF grade, 90 out of 115, which is below mid, not great at all. But this is someone that if maybe this is a depth piece that you feel like you can coach up, maybe you get a guy like this. But there are 3 big concerns for me for this guy. He tore his ACL and missed all of 2024. And again, explosive players sometimes lose a step after knee injuries. We talked about that with Jalen Phillips. Run defense, again, we talked about how he struggled in run defense. badly. It's just he cannot stop the run. If you really struggle versus the run, you're not an every down rusher guy. So that's why I think he's more of a pass rush specialist. So you're not getting a full-time player. And then he only had one good season where he had 8 sacks. The other seasons were below mid. So, and this guy's probably going to want 15 to 20 million per year. And that, to me, that I'm not willing. I wouldn't be excited if Dan Morgan and Brand Tillis would give him that, which I highly doubt they would. But that's starter money in my opinion. This in his resume looks more like maybe number 2 pass rusher depth. He's the guy. He's a guy that I worked alongside a great star pass rusher and didn't really produce that much. So, best case scenario, if you sign him, you get an 8-10 sack speed rusher who boosts your pass rush. Or, worst case scenario, you pay a lot of money for an injured player who only plays on passing downs and can't stop the run. So, possibility, but this would be more of a depth piece in my opinion. So, those are the guys that we could possibly target. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are in the comments. Hit the like button if you guys haven't already. Still growing, got 62 subscribers, trying to get to 100. Really appreciate it if you guys hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, leave a comment. Let me know what guys you would like us to target from a free agent perspective and who you would like us to draft as well at the edge rusher position. So appreciate you guys for watching. If you guys don't have anything else for me, I'm out of here, man. All right. Darkness, thank you guys for watching. You guys take it easy and see you on the next one again. Appreciate it. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button for me. Keep pounding, guys. See you on the next one. Peace.